What are the things that I'm doing that are actually filling me back up, or what are the things that are draining me more? If you go back to work on Monday morning and you're not rested and you're not ready for what God has for you, I would audit your weekend. Hello there. You're listening to the Girl Talk Podcast. My name is Carol.
I'm Kelly.
I'm Tricia.
We're already giggling. This is going to be good. I have an idea. So you feel like you are running on empty today? You look down at the dashboard of your life and you're in the red and there is no filling station anywhere in sight. What do you do then?
Fill my cup, Lord.
Yeah, ask him to fill your cup. So what things fill you guys back up? That was a long,
Quite a breath.
Because
sigh.
I thought about all of the wonderful things that fill me up. So
Okay.
the first thing I thought of was making pottery.
I know, and you're so
I
good
love
at
it. Oh, thank you so much. I really am not, but I have so much fun with it. It's so much fun to make it. Just the idea of creating something, taking mud, literally mud, and it out comes a cup, because I only make whatever the wheel makes, so it's actually not cups. It's almost always bowls. But God makes a lot of bowls on my wheel, and I have a lot of fun doing it. And then the other thing that I thought of is just this very morning, I sat outside, and it was like 63, crisp 63 degrees. I sat on my back porch. The birds are chirping. I could hear the morning dove way out in the distance doing the morning dove call. And I had a cup of hot coffee. Ooh. And I just sat there and just thought and talked to the Lord. And that really... that started my day off right. And I don't get to do that every day. Usually it's cold outside.
Yeah. You would love it because our air conditioner's broken. So we have all of our windows open and you can hear those birds and various critters all day long.
Yeah.
So come on over and enjoy the noise of the world.
Right. Good at 6:30 in the morning, not good at 2 o'clock in the morning, in the middle of the night.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. What about you, TK? What fills your cup?
Oh, typically it's activity, I think. First of all, I love music. I love music. That's why I love being a part of this radio ministry. I love the songs. I love music. I love worship music. I love 80s music. I love dancing to music. I love music. I love laughter. I love exercise. I know that sounds weird, but I really do. I wish... I just enjoy being active. I enjoy tennis and things like that. But time with family, just laughter and fun and activity. I think that's what really fills my cup. And worship, of course.
Absolutely.
That being a
Board
giant
games.
part
You're
of it.
a big fan of board games.
I love board games with the family, especially when I win.
Yeah.
Sorry. True story. But... anyway.
Yeah. So a couple.
What about you?
I was going to get to that.
Okay.
First, you know me, I've always got a story. A couple of years ago, I was working with a counselor, and he said, imagine in front of you are 4 batteries: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. He said, whenever one of those batteries gets low, it draws off the other batteries. And so they all decline, right? And he asked me the question, what fills you back up? And I can honestly tell you that I had zero clue, which scared me to death because he was like, because I was in a time in my life where it was very much fast-paced, very much activity, all the,
distraction.
Go. All the time. It was because I was avoiding a lot of things.
Yes.
But I thought if I ever stop, it's going to be bad. So I'm just going to keep going 90 miles an hour. And then I was sitting in that counseling office, and he was like, okay, your assignment for this week is to come up with 3 things, just 3 things that will fill you back up. And I honestly had a hard time coming up with 3 things. And I think a lot of people may not say that out loud, but a lot of people, if you really pressed them on it, they would say, I have a hard time coming up with things because they either have been in survival mode so long or they don't want to stop long enough to think about it because they're afraid of what else will come up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I think, too, it's also easy for us to think about the major things. Like, like a trip to the beach. That fills me up.
Yeah.
But then it's hard for us to think about the things that are going to fill us up on a daily basis.
Right.
Yeah.
That don't require escapism.
Right.
Yes, correct.
In order to be filled back up.
Because I will say a lot of what I probably would have told you would have been escapism things like a Netflix binge or, and I started, examining my weekends, because weekends is most of the time. If you work on the weekends, then doesn't apply to you. You can apply it to other parts of your life. But I was looking specifically at my weekends because I was arriving Monday morning back at work with zero energy and just no motivation at all. And so I started auditing my weekends and saying, what are the things that I'm doing that are actually filling me back up, or what are the things that are draining me more?
That's such a great idea.
Yeah. And so I was, and like I say, this counselor, he's wonderful, and he's been so instrumental in my life. But he led me through that exercise of auditing the time that you spend, because I think one of the things that culture tells you is that a Netflix binge is going to fill you back up.
Yes.
Truth of the matter is, it's not.
Right.
9 times out of 10, we're distracting ourselves from whatever it is.
Yep.
I'm an emotional eater.
Same, girl.
And so when I would get by myself, I would eat to make myself feel better, and then I would wonder why I was overweight. Just all these things that I was trying to escape. And I say that because if you come up with things very quickly, I would kind of caution you on that, to examine them and make sure they're filling you back up, and you're not just adopting somebody else's strategy or item that fills them back up that really doesn't fill you up. If you go back to work on Monday morning and you're not rested and you're not ready for what God has for you, I would audit your weekend.
Yeah, I love that. I love that phrase. That actually makes a lot of sense to me. One thing I've discovered about my motivation, which is kind of tied into that, like when I feel really low motivated, I don't want to go do the things that I have to do. I heard this once. It's remember your why.
Yeah.
Like, why am I doing what I'm doing?
Right.
Why does it matter? And it might be because of my family. It might be because of my faith. It might be because of
health.
Yes, a health reason. But when I remember the why, that gives me more energy than I had before. It gives me the ability to keep going.
So good.
And I've had to draw on that from time to time, especially like when you're talking about when you're arriving, you're supposed to be rested at the end of a weekend, but you feel more tapped out than ever.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, remember why you're doing what you're doing.
And I can remember, coming to work on a Monday morning and somebody saying, "Hey, how was your weekend?" And they were listing all these things off that they did. So excitedly, they did this and went to the lake and did all these things, and I was like, and they were like, "How was your weekend?" I was like, "Good." I didn't do that, and that's not necessarily saying that would have filled my cup, but I realized, hey, what I'm doing is not working, and I think that is a question I was afraid to answer or admit, that what I was doing wasn't working.
Well, that's vulnerable.
Because you have to identify those things. And often those things that will fill you back up are things that you have to fight for. Or what I found in my own life. You were talking about how that time alone with God on your porch, listening to the birds sing and just being quiet with God. You have to fight for that.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah.
Phone rings, the email dings, the text messages come through.
Laundry, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm having to actually fight to get to do pottery.
Yeah.
I mean, like legitimately.
Yeah.
My husband and I are not sharing well.
Yes.
In the garage.
Yeah.
The garage. His woodworking and my pottery ain't mixing well. So I'm not getting to do pottery.
Right.
So it is, I can feel it.
Yeah.
You're
having to fight for it.
I'm having to fight for it, but I understand how important it is. So
yeah.
I might have to do it in my driveway.
But sometimes those things that you have to fight for aren't easy. They're not easily accessible, right? Just like time with God. Y'all, we've kind of laughed about this before, talking about silence and solitude. That's something that I've really tried to get better at. I'm still horrible at it, but I'm probably maybe 2 ticks better than I was. Just about sitting. One of the books that I read said, imagine going to a local stream and scooping up a jar full of water, putting the lid on it, and shaking it up real good, and then sitting it on the counter. What's going to happen? All the sediment that was in that creek is going to
go to the bottom,
settle, right? And she said, think of your time of silence and solitude like that. The world is shaking you up all day, just shaking. Think of your silence and solitude time as when God kind of sits you down and you let all that stuff settle. that kind of gave me a visual picture. And I even go through that in my mind now when I sit down. I set a timer on my watch. I say I'm going to spend at least 30 minutes. And I'm just going to let things settle. And you'd be amazed at when you just sit quietly and you let those things settle and you let them go to the bottom. And I'm talking about all the things like, because we all sit down to do that and you're thinking, I've got 10 things I need to do. I got to switch that laundry from the washer to the dryer. I've got to change that light bulb in my bathroom. I got to pay this bill. I got to check the mail. I got to do all the things. Those are all the settling things. And I just keep a notepad right there beside me. If I think of something, I just jot it down and let it go.
Yeah.
And let all those things settle. And then when I finally feel like the water's clear and you can see through it, then I feel like I'm ready to just say, I'm here, Lord.
Yeah, that's
I'm
so
listening.
good.
Yeah.
And that is not my experience often when I stop. Usually when I stop, my thoughts then shake the jar back up again.
Yes.
I'll have a thought and then it'll shake and then it'll lead me to another thought, which will then shake it harder. And then it'll lead me to another thought. And all of a sudden that is super cloudy because now and then I have to stop. Then I go, okay, I'm just going to put all that down because I don't want to think about that anymore.
Yeah. And actually, she goes on to say in this book that we are conditioned to do that now because we prize productivity above every other thing in this life. Our culture prizes productivity. But really, what we need to do is to be able to lay all those things down. And that's the settling part of being with God. Because, if I'm honest, I can say probably 90% of the time, my quiet times up into probably the last 2 years of my life have been mostly me reading a verse, starting to think about it and then thinking of 10 other things and getting distracted and going on, that happens to me a lot. But when I start at this place and I let everything settle and I keep a notepad, I'm like, okay, I can take care of that later. Those are the kinds of things that I'm learning to do. And I get so filled up from that just 30 minutes. And I have a place where I go. My daughter knows if I'm out there, wait for me to come out, then I'm available again, and just to let those things
building
settle.
that rhythm.
Yeah.
But I would say if you're trying to do this and you're having that experience of the shaking up and the constant thoughts, be kind to yourself. I've heard it said, don't beat yourself up in that moment because that just keeps shaking it.
Yep.
Instead, just allow that, write the notes down or whatever, maybe say a little quick prayer and just return to letting the things settle.
One of the ways that I have learned to do that also is to get curious about it. Not to condemn yourself for it.
Yeah.
But if you're feeling anxiety, I've got that meeting coming up and I'm anxious about it. Why are you anxious about that meeting? Well, because I'm afraid that it could go this way or it could go that way or that. And just to lay that before God and to allow him to say, well, I have a plan. Okay, you have a plan. And that's the settling.
That's the settling.
Yeah.
Well, you can't hear from God if you're not listening.
Yeah.
And you can't listen while you're talking or, Yeah. So I think about going to coffee or something with a friend who just talks all the time. It's a lot of it is anxiety. And when I realize that and I'm curious about why am I so anxious, even in my time with God, and just giving that to him and relaxing and releasing, then I can be quiet. Then I can be still and have solitude and then hear from him because he does want to speak to you. He wants to speak to us, and he does it in a variety of different ways. One of the ways is in his word. You read something, you think on it, and then you have a thought about how that relates to your life. That's God talking to you. Or I've even had thoughts that I thought, is this from you, God, or is this my thought? And I pray about it and I'll ask and I continue to have that thought and I believe it's from the Lord. Oftentimes it's contrary to what I would want on my own, something that I would cook up. So therefore I'm like, well, it's probably from God because it's not from me. But he will talk to us in those times of stillness and solitude. So they are important and you do have to fight for them.
Yeah.
And you have to be intentional. I think that was one of the things I heard you say too, Carol, is that, you're having that piece of paper, you're writing things down, you're intentionally saying, okay, I'm going to I'm going to set this aside or I'm going to give it to the Lord. But you have to be kind of intentional. You can't just let it spiral. And that's often what I let myself do, is just let it spiral into one thought to another, as opposed to taking every thought captive, and stopping it and going, okay, wait, why am I thinking about this? I don't want to think about this. And as opposed to throwing my hands up and walking away from it, I go, I want to think about something else. And I'm going to just give that to God. Okay, God, I need you to take that person that just popped into my head that's making me really anxious right now, or a thought that's making me anxious, take that away. Be intentional about it.
Intentional, and even in the wanting to distract yourself. This is the weirdest prayer I've ever prayed. But I was like, Lord, right now I want to distract myself from time with you by looking at my phone.
Yes.
And I just confess that.
Honesty.
And I really, and the reason I want to do that is because I know there's some sin in my heart that I need to deal with. And I don't want to deal with that. But you do want to deal with that, because that sin in my heart is causing a rift in our relationship. And I want to live in right relationship. And so, if you boil that down and you get curious about it and you really confess that, and I know that seems really silly, but
it's not at all.
For me, I am so prone to distraction. I tend to short attention span. I'm a creative, so I'm all over the map, and I have creative ideas, and I have this and this. But really, intention is so huge.
Well, I had that very experience this morning with my time on the back porch. I took my phone out there with me, and I went a couple of times to pick it up to play a game. And so finally I gave in, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm just going to sit here and drink my coffee and play a game on my phone while I'm waiting on my kid to get up. And I did not feel the same level of peace. And I could feel it. I could feel the holes that I had just poked in my bucket.
In the bucket.
And all of a sudden, all the water, or in my case, the hot coffee, was rushing right out of the end of that filled up bucket. And all because I picked up my phone and started playing. So then I put it back down, and I was like, no, wait, that actually didn't make me feel better. That made me feel worse.
Yeah.
I want to get back to just sitting here and dwelling with God.
Yeah.
I just want to dwell.
Yeah. But that, man, you have to fight for
Well,
it.
the phone, my hand goes like this
Yeah.
all the time. I'm looking for my phone, grabbing. No, stop, grabbing the phone. Stop. It's just like an instinct.
Right.
And culture is conditioning us for that. So we are fighting a battle, but we can win it.
Yeah,
But being aware of it is the first step.
And I think God even said to me, why did you bring it out here? Why did you not just leave your phone in the kitchen?
See how he talked to you? That's good.
Yeah.
Did
I get up and take it into the kitchen? No, I kept it right there with
time
me.
You might.
But
Next time you might.
He at least reminded me, hey, you didn't have to bring this out here on the porch. You
Because
left it
what
in
does
there.
culture tell us? We have to be reachable all the time.
Right, yeah.
Somebody might need us.
Oh, yeah.
That's where we get our significance. The more
Right.
people that text us and need us, and I have a life group at my church, and they laugh at me because if they send a prayer request at 10:30 at night, they know they're going to get a reply from me at 4:00 in the morning. That's just how it works. After 9 or 10 o'clock, I'm out, because I get up early in the mornings. But they know 4:00 rolls around, I'm going to be shooting a text.
So they better turn their ringer
That's
off.
exactly right. That's exactly right. We're going to trade on this.
Yeah,
But I think the important thing is that we understand, and this is something I've been trying to teach my kid. We've talked a lot in recent days about have I done enough to teach my kid that the algorithms, the social media, all the things that they are critical pieces of their lives are actually designed to distract them and keep them. And she looks at me like I have three heads most of the time, and she's like, Mom, because I'm always like, probably ought to put the phone away. Probably ought to take she goes to summer camp every year, and during that week, they're not allowed to take phones with them. They have to leave them at home. And, parent kind of gets a little FOMO because I'm like, I wonder what she's doing. Is she having fun? Is she, but she always comes home from that and says, oh, that was so nice to not have my phone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, remember that the rest of the year, right? But like me, prone to wonder, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love.
Yeah.
So It is hard because
those phones aren't filling us up.
No, they're not.
They're really not. And if you look at it from a purely like research-based standpoint, the phone will not fill up your cup.
Yeah.
And choosing time with the Lord will.
Absolutely.
Worship will.
Yeah.
Reminding yourself of the truth will.
Mm-hmm.
But I also wanted to say this one thing before I stopped saying is God isn't like me. So sometimes I think when I mess up and I take my phone out on the porch, to use your analogy, and he's like, well, why did you bring it out there? He gives us such grace. And I just want to remind you of that as I remind myself of that. He's not like wagging his finger.
But,
He's just inviting us to do the next right thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I love that reminder.
Yeah.
I wanted to
Every
bring that
moment
up.
is an invitation.
Yeah.
Every moment. Yeah.
And I think I have spent lots of my life feeling like he was finger wagging.
Yeah. Which makes you want to run away, not go towards.
Yeah. And really,
Yeah.
it's just been an invitation.
Oh, yeah. He's got such kindness.
Abundance.
Just when you said that, too, I thought back to that moment this morning and how the Lord said that to me. And it wasn't in that finger wagging way. It wasn't well, why'd you bring it out here?
There's no condemnation.
There was none of that. It was very much you didn't have to bring it out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just that kindness.
That love, that grace,
kindness.
those open arms.
Yeah.
That kindness leads us to repentance, the
Yes.
word says, And so what do you find that God's word says about what we're trying to fill our cups with?
I mean, I think he wants us to have the good things that he's given us in moderation. That there are some things that we're trying to fill ourselves up with that are gifts from him. I think about pottery and just how the act of making pottery is connecting me to him. It is connecting me to his creation. It is a good thing. And I can make it into an idol if I'm not careful.
Sure.
And even when we think about cell phones, they can be good things. And if we make them into idols, it's detrimental to us. So I think he says, I have given you good things.
Yeah.
Taste and see that the Lord is good.
Right.
And do it, whatever it is, in moderation, and know that I'm really the author of all of that. I am the creator of all of that, and I know what's going to fill you up, and I'm going to give it to you, and I want you to take it, and I want you to take it in moderation.
And do it for him. Do it unto the Lord.
Yes,
God's word says, do it unto the Lord. And we can do everything for his glory. And that'll change an average day to a cup-filling day when you do it for his glory, to bring honor to him. And that might be in the way you interact with someone else, or the way that you thank him for the ability to do it in that moment. But when you are doing it for him and for his glory, it'll change everything. And I'm thinking about the verse that says, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. I used to just focus on the he will give you the desires of your heart part. But that is when I delight myself in him, by making it about him, by focusing on him, by doing it for his glory. And when I do that, my cup gets filled up, and that's the desire of my heart.
Yeah.
So I think really remembering that I can do everything for his glory, everything to bring honor to him, and that'll fill up a cup.
And ultimately remembering that he is the treasure.
That's right. Yeah.
That
That's the
everything else is a gift. Yeah, his grace, all those things, all the hobbies and all the things that we're good at and the things that we enjoy are gifts, but he's the ultimate treasure, I think. So audit your free time. Pay attention to how you feel, what is filling you up and what is draining you further. I would say that would be the first step. Second step is, ask the Lord, what is it that you want to do in my heart and life to fill me back up for whatever it is? Because he knows what's coming for you. So why not ask him? I'm like, that makes total sense. That we'd ask the one who knows what's coming,
right?
What we need, right?
Yeah.
So exactly. Ask him. Prayer, always worship music, good for pointing your thoughts in the right direction, and remembering that he is that treasure. All such crucial things. If you're feeling drained today, if you're feeling like you're at the end of your rope, hey, get alone with God, spend some quiet time with him, and ask him what are the things that he's given you to fill you back up. He'll tell you. That's a question he'll answer. If you got ideas or things you want to share with us, you're always welcome to email us, girltalk@thelightfm.org. Check in on the Facebook page, on the Girlfriends of the Girl Talk podcast page. Any way you get in touch, we love it. And so we love hearing from you. We do a little happy dance every time we get an email. And so you email us, you let us know what you think, and make sure you like and subscribe so you'll get the latest episode sent to your phone whenever it becomes available. And don't forget to write a review of this podcast. When you do, it allows other people who've never heard of the Girl Talk podcast to get to see it and maybe even tune in and meet Jesus. And that is the goal here. So if you don't mind, leave us a comment. That would help our ministry so much. Thank you again for listening today. And you know what? We're going to save you a seat next time we gather around these microphones for the next Girl Talk podcast. We'll see you then.